The forest stood still, as if every branch held its breath. Cold air drifted between the trees, carrying the scent of damp soil and fading leaves. The moonlight slipped through the canopy, drawing silver lines across the ground. Ethan moved carefully, each step pressing into the wet earth with a muffled sound. His chest tightened, though he could not explain why. There was no wind, no rustling of animals, no distant call of night birds. It was silence, too heavy, too deliberate, like something unseen was listening. He reached for the old compass his grandfather had given him. The needle trembled, spinning as if pulled in every direction at once. A shiver crawled down his spine. He whispered to himself, but his voice felt swallowed by the air, as if the forest absorbed every word before it could echo. Ahead, a faint glow appeared between the trees. It was pale, almost fragile, flickering as if it fought against the darkness. Ethan's legs moved forward without his command. The closer he came, the colder the air became, burning his lungs with each breath. The glow revealed a figure standing still. A tall silhouette, unmoving, its head slightly bowed. Ethan froze. The ground beneath him seemed to hum, a low vibration rising through the soles of his boots. The figure lifted its head slowly. Two hollow eyes gleamed faintly in the moonlight. Ethan felt his heartbeat pounding against his ribs, each thud echoing in his ears. The air smelled of iron, sharp and unsettling, as if the night itself had begun to bleed. A whisper passed through the trees, not carried by wind, but by something deeper, something ancient. It spoke no words, yet Ethan understood. It called his name. He staggered backward, but the forest closed in tighter, the path behind him swallowed by shadows. His compass shattered in his hand, the glass splintering without sound. The figure stepped forward. The glow around it dimmed, leaving only its hollow gaze. Ethan wanted to scream, but his throat locked, his breath trapped in his chest. The whisper grew louder, twisting inside his mind, pushing against his thoughts. And then, the silence pressed harder on her ears. Not the calm kind of silence, but the suffocating one, thick, heavy, as though the air itself carried a secret it refused to release. Elena stood frozen in the narrow hallway. The pale wallpaper peeled like old skin, curling at the edges, whispering with every subtle draft. Her heartbeat thudded so loudly she thought it might betray her presence. A faint creak echoed behind her. She turned sharply. The corridor stretched long and empty, shadows bending unnaturally against the dim light of the flickering bulb. Her breath trembled. Every step forward felt like sinking deeper into something unseen, a fate she hadn't chosen but one that had chosen her. She placed her hand on the cold wooden railing. The wood was damp. When she lifted her fingers, they came away stained with something dark, something that glistened faintly in the weak light. Blood. Or was her mind playing tricks? Her throat tightened. The silence returned, deeper now, almost alive. It seemed to move with her, following her, coiling around her shoulders. From a distance, she thought she heard a whisper. Not words, just a low vibration, like breath through broken glass. Her body stiffened. She leaned closer, straining to listen. The whisper stopped. And then, footsteps. Soft. Measured. Not hers. The corridor stretched longer than it should have, each step echoing in a space that felt endless. Her pulse hammered in her temples as she turned the corner, expecting nothing, yet fearing everything. A door stood at the end. Slightly ajar. Darkness seeped out from the crack, thicker than the night itself. Her hand shook. As she reached out, the air grew colder. Her breath fogged before her face, each exhale a fragile cloud that lingered too long. The door groaned as she pushed. It swung open with the weight of centuries, as though resisting her intrusion. Inside, a room stripped bare, walls scratched, floorboards splintered, the ceiling sagging under the burden of time. And in the center, a chair. On it lay a bundle of cloth. Small, too small, shaped like a child. Her chest clenched. She stepped closer, legs trembling as though they might collapse beneath her. The cloth shifted. No wind, no touch, yet it moved, as if stirred by something inside. Her lips parted in a silent scream. The whisper returned, clearer this time. It was not from the room. It was inside her. You shouldn't have come. She staggered back, eyes darting to the corners of the room. Shadows twitched, not moving from the light, but against it. Twisting, stretching. Her spine chilled. The air felt thick, almost liquid, clinging to her skin. She wanted to run, to escape, but her body refused to obey. The bundle rose from the chair. Not lifted by hands, not by anything visible. It floated, unraveling, and from inside spilled something that made her knees buckle. Not a child, not even human. A face, distorted, eyes hollow, mouth stretched wide as if it had been screaming for eternity. The soundless cry reverberated inside her skull, piercing deeper than any sound ever could. She collapsed against the wall, gasping, clawing at her ears though there was nothing to block. The silence had turned into something unbearable, pressing down on her bones, crushing her from within. The figure drifted closer, its hollow eyes locked onto hers, pulling her in. Her own reflection warped in its void-like gaze. She saw herself not as she was, but as something broken, lifeless, destined. Silent destiny. The words didn't come from her, but they etched themselves into her thoughts, carved into her soul. She understood now. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of every scream never spoken, every fate never escaped. It was alive, and it wanted her. The walls pulsed. The floor beneath her feet cracked. Her body felt weightless, as though she were being lifted into the void itself. The whisper turned into a chorus. Hundreds of voices layered, crying, pleading, warning, condemning. The sound was inside her chest, vibrating her ribs, tearing through her breath. She tried to scream. No sound escaped. The silence swallowed her whole. The figure reached out, its elongated hand brushing against her cheek. Her skin froze instantly, veins stiffening like brittle glass. Her vision blurred, darkness crawling in from the edges. One last thought crossed her mind. This place wasn't abandoned. It was waiting. And she had answered the call. The last flicker of the light bulb above extinguished. The silence deepened, final, eternal. And then, nothing. Darkness pressed around Elena, swallowing her whole. Her breath had vanished, her voice stolen. The silence was complete. And yet, she still existed. Not in her body, but in a space between. A limbo of whispers, memories, and shadows. She drifted, weightless, until a faint glow pierced the void. It was small, fragile, like the flicker of a dying candle. But it called to her. It was hope, or at least the echo of it. Elena reached toward the light. Her fingers trembled, not of flesh but of spirit. The closer she drew, the clearer the voices became. Not screams, not curses, but prayers. The silence wasn't only horror, it was also the vessel of forgotten souls. Each whisper carried a story. Each echo a life unfinished. And now she understood. The house wasn't cursed. It was a keeper. A place that gathered the voices of those who had been silenced. Protecting their stories from fading into nothingness. Her fear began to soften. Her heartbeat, though faint, steadied. The hollow-eyed figure stood before her again, no longer monstrous. Its face was shifting, broken fragments of many lives woven together, watching her with a strange sorrow. "You heard us," the chorus whispered. "And because you listened, you may leave."